All right, let's dive into a really fascinating piece of history. We're talking about a super powerful family of Japanese military rulers, a shogun clan, who were sitting on a pretty huge secret, their direct connection to ancient Korea.
So, that's the big question, right? At a time when local pride was everything, why on earth would the mighty Ochi clan trace their family tree back to a Korean prince? I mean, not a Japanese god or some legendary samurai, but a foreigner. It just sounds weird, doesn't it? But the answer tells an incredible story about technology, power, and how influence really works.
And get this isn't just some old legend, it's a fact. In the year 1399, an official ambassador from the Ochi clan stood in front of the Korean royal court and said this exact thing. It was so important, it was written down in the official records of the Joseon dynasty. And that right there, that's our entry point into this thousand-year-old mystery.
Now, to really get why this claim was such a big deal, you have to understand that the Ochi clan weren't just some minor lords. No. These guys were a total powerhouse. They were basically the rulers of their own independent kingdom in Western Japan.
So the Uchi clan ran the show from their capital, Yamaguchi. And this wasn't just some random town. They built it to be a massive cultural and economic center. It was so grand, people started calling it the Kyoto of the West, meaning it was on par with the emperor's own capital city. And because of where they were, they had total control over these super profitable trade routes between Japan, Korea, and China. And we know they were absolutely loaded. I mean, we have proof. When archaeologists started digging up the old Uchi palace, they found literal piles of money. We're talking hundreds of kilos of Korean and Chinese coins. This shows their incredible wealth came from international trade, a sign of just how powerful they were on the world stage. And you better believe they had the muscle to protect all that cash. The Ochi weren't just rich merchants. They were warlords with their own private army. They built these enormous fortresses to defend their land. And here's the really interesting part. They built them in the very specific style of the ancient Baekje kingdom in Korea, a clear nod to where they said they came from.
Okay, so who was this Korean ancestor they were so proud of? To find out, we've got to jump in our time machine and go way, way back, another 700 years, to a prince from a kingdom that had fallen. His name was Imsong.
And here is our first huge clue. On the left, you've got the official family crest of the Uchi clan. And on the right, that's a pattern from the handle of a 1400-year-old sword that belonged to Prince Izang. Look at them. They're identical. This was their family symbol, passed down through 30 generations, linking these medieval Japanese rulers directly to an ancient Korean prince.
So let's put it all together on a timeline. Sometime in the 600s, Prince Imsong comes to Japan. Fast forward a few centuries, and his descendants, who are now known as the Ochi clan, have become the undisputed bosses of Western Japan. And then, in 1399, they send that envoy to Korea to officially declare, hey, we're descended from you guys. But the connection is way deeper than just a family crest or some official statement. Turns out, the biggest clue of all has been hiding in plain sight for over 1,000 years, locked away in the ancestor's name itself.
According to the Uchi family's own records, when Prince Imsong first got to Japan, his last name was Tatara. Okay, seems simple enough, right? Just a name. But you know where this is going. It's so much more than that.
Because that exact same word, Tatara, means something else entirely in Japanese. Something that was the absolute peak of ancient technology, and the secret ingredient to building a kingdom from scratch.
A tatara is a traditional Japanese furnace. It's a really sophisticated clay smelter they used to make the amazing high-quality steel for swords, tools, you name it. It was basically the engine of ancient industry and war. So, is it just a coincidence that the prince's name is the same as this vital technology? No way.
And this is the linguistic smoking gun. Check it out. The Japanese word tatara didn't just appear out of thin air. It's actually linked to the old Korean word dudu리다, which means to strike or to hammer, the thing a blacksmith does. In Korean folklore, dudu리다 was even the name for the god of iron-making. The sound, the meaning, it's all connected.
So here's the kicker. Prince Imsong's name, Tatara, it wasn't just a name. It was his job description. It was a title. It was him declaring who he was and what he brought with him. He was the master of the tatara, the person who brought advanced iron-making technology from Baekje to Japan.
And with that one incredible piece of technology, Prince Imsong and all of his descendants had everything they needed to build their very own kingdom right there in Japan.
So you can see how it all happened, right? First, a Baekje prince shows up, probably with a whole team of skilled workers. Second, he introduces this game-changing Tatara technology. Third, his descendants use that technological and economic advantage to just dominate everybody else. And fourth, they build this powerful, practically independent state. It just makes sense.
And the proof of this Baekje kingdom in Japan is literally all over the place in their old territory. Their main port was actually called Baekje-jin, which means port of Baekje. The whole area is covered in tombs and fortresses built in a pure Baekje style. And even today, there are local shrines where people worship Prince Imsong, not just as an ancestor, but as a founding god of the region.
And look, it's not just me saying this. As one historian we're drawing from puts it, the Uchi domain wasn't just some settlement. It was basically an independent kingdom. It was an economic and political powerhouse that was deeply tied to Baekje. And all those huge fortresses, they were built to protect that special status.
So that brings us all the way back to our original question. The Ochi clan's big announcement to the Korean court wasn't just about honoring their great, you get the idea, grandfather. No, it was a power move. They were reminding everyone, Korea, their rivals in Japan, everybody, that the entire foundation of their wealth and their military might was built on the superior technology that their Korean ancestor, the Master of Iron, had given them.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? History is just filled with these kinds of connections, hiding right under our noses, in a name, a symbol, or the way a building looks. What other incredible stories are out there, just waiting to be discovered, hidden in the echo of a single forgotten word?